1 year had passed since Grandpa Richard's pocket watch stopped ticking. The Carter Family Foundation had grown beyond anything we imagined. The free art school was full every afternoon. The community bakery still gave away warm bread every Saturday. The library welcomed more children than ever before. And Dr. Henry Lawson's old clinic had become a place where people found hope again. For the first time in many years, life was quiet. There were no hidden letters, no forgotten vaults, no mysterious journeys, only ordinary days. And somehow, they felt extraordinary. One autumn evening, heavy rain covered Rosewood Valley. The wind shook the old oak tree. Outside the farmhouse, Noah sat in Grandpa Richard's study, reading through the Foundation's newest letters. Not secret letters. Letters from people whose lives had been changed. One little boy wrote, "I want to become a teacher." Another said, "I shared my lunch today because of your story." Noah smiled. Grandpa's kindness was still traveling. Even without the pocket watch, the old silver watch rested quietly inside a glass display case. It had never ticked again. No one tried to repair it, exactly as Grandpa had asked. Outside, the rain became heavier. Lightning flashed across the valley. Then, 3 quiet knocks echoed through the farmhouse. Knock, knock, knock. It was nearly 10 o'clock. No one expected visitors. Noah opened the front door. Standing beneath the rain was a young girl, perhaps 12 years old. Her clothes were soaked. She hugged a small wooden box against her chest. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Am I at the Carter farmhouse?" Noah nodded gently. "Yes, you are." The girl stepped inside. She looked exhausted. Sarah quickly wrapped a warm blanket around her shoulders. Emma brought hot chocolate. For several minutes, no one asked questions. Sometimes, kindness comes before curiosity. When she finally felt warm again, the girl carefully placed the wooden box on the dining room table. "I've traveled almost 2 days to bring this here." Noah looked confused. "Who sent you?" She lowered her eyes. "My grandfather. He passed away last week. He told me if anything ever happened to him, I must bring this box to your family." The room became silent. Noah had never seen the girl before. Neither had Sarah, nor Ethan. "What was your grandfather's name?" Noah asked softly. The girl answered, "Samuel Harper." The name meant nothing, at least, not yet. She slowly turned the box around. Carved into the weathered oak were 7 carefully engraved words. "Do not open until someone brings it home." No lock, no key, no address, only those words. The wood looked ancient. Its corners were worn smooth, as though someone had carried it for decades. Noah reached toward the lid, then stopped. For some reason, he remembered Grandpa Richard's letters. Never open more than one at a time. Grandpa had always believed timing mattered. The young girl quietly spoke again. "My grandfather said you would know when it was time." Noah looked at the box, then toward Grandpa Richard's silent pocket watch. For the first time in a year, he felt the same feeling he had known as a child. The feeling that another story was quietly waiting to begin. Outside, the rain finally began to slow. Inside the farmhouse, the mysterious wooden box sat untouched in the center of the table. None of us knew that the ordinary-looking box contained 5 forgotten objects, each connected to a single act of kindness that Grandpa Richard had never told anyone about. And the first object would change everything. The wooden box remained in the center of the dining table. No one touched it. Outside, the rain had stopped. Only the sound of dripping water echoed through the quiet farmhouse. The young girl sat quietly, holding a warm cup of tea. Her name was Lily Harper, only 12 years old, yet her eyes carried the sadness of someone much older. Noah smiled gently. "Lily, can you tell us why your grandfather chose our family?" She shook her head. He never explained. He only said, "When the time comes, the Carters will understand." She reached into her backpack, carefully removing an old photograph. The edges had faded. The colors nearly disappeared. But one face caught my attention immediately. Grandpa Richard, young, smiling, standing beside another man, his arm resting on Richard's shoulder. Noah looked surprised. I've never seen him before. Neither had I. On the back of the photograph, someone had written, Richard Carter and Samuel Harper, friends for life. 1974. Sarah searched through Grandpa's journals. Nothing. Not one mention of Samuel Harper. Ethan frowned. Grandpa wrote about everyone. How could he leave out his best friend? Lily quietly answered, my grandfather. Said Richard promised not to tell anyone. The room fell silent. For the first time, we realized Grandpa Richard still had secrets, not because he wanted to hide them, but because some promises were meant to protect others. Noah slowly lifted the lid of the wooden box. It opened without resistance. Inside, 5 carefully wrapped cloth bundles, each tied with blue ribbon, exactly like Grandpa's letters. There was no note, no instruction, only a small wooden divider. On it, a brass plate had been nailed. It read, one memory, one lesson, one life. Noah carefully lifted the first bundle. Inside rested an ordinary white handkerchief, soft, worn, beautifully embroidered. In one corner, only 2 initials, S.H. Sarah looked confused. Just a handkerchief? Lily smiled softly. My grandfather never went anywhere without it. As Noah unfolded the cloth, something slipped onto the table. A tiny train ticket, yellow with age, almost unreadable. The date, the 17th of October, 1978. Destination, Rosewood Valley. Folded inside the ticket was a single handwritten sentence. Not written by Richard, not written by Samuel, someone else. Thank you for waiting. Only 4 words. Yet somehow, the room felt heavier. Noah turned the ticket over. A station stamp appeared. Arrival delayed. 11 hours. Sarah looked puzzled. What happened? On that train? Lily quietly whispered. My grandfather. Missed it. Everyone looked toward her. He always said, missing that train saved 2 lives. Noah frowned. Whose lives? Lily slowly shook her head. He never told me. He only cried. Every October 17th. At that moment, Noah looked toward Grandpa Richard's silent pocket watch, then back at the faded train ticket. He smiled gently. I think this isn't about the train. It's about the person who waited. As he carefully placed the handkerchief back into the box, he noticed something hidden, sewn inside the fabric, almost invisible. Tiny blue stitching. Just 5 words. Wait long enough. Love arrives. Noah closed his eyes. For the first time, he realized this mysterious box wasn't filled with forgotten objects. It was filled with unfinished stories. And somewhere, in Rosewood Valley, there was still someone alive who had been waiting. Since the 17th of October 1978, the old train ticket lay quietly on the table. The 17th of October 1978, arrival delayed, 11 hours, and beneath it, only 4 handwritten words. Thank you for waiting. No one in the room spoke. It wasn't the ticket that moved us. It was the feeling that someone had spent decades waiting for a moment no one else remembered. The next morning, Noah decided to follow the first clue, not because Grandpa Richard had asked him to, but because someone, somewhere, had once believed waiting was worth it. Sarah searched old railway records. Most had disappeared, but one station still kept handwritten archives. A small depot, only 20 miles from Rosewood Valley. When we arrived, the station looked frozen in time. The wooden benches remained. The old clock still hung above the platform. Even the faded station sign had never been replaced. Inside, an elderly station master welcomed us. His name was George. He had worked there for more than 50 years. Noah carefully placed the yellow train ticket on the counter. George adjusted his glasses. The moment he saw the date, his smile disappeared. I remember this, he whispered. It was the biggest storm I've ever seen. The train didn't arrive until sunrise. Noah leaned forward. "Do you remember? A man named Samuel Harper?" George nodded immediately. "I do, but he wasn't the one I remember most." He looked toward the empty platform outside. There was a young woman. She arrived before sunrise. She carried a small bouquet of white flowers. She refused to leave. We told her the train might not come. She smiled and said, "I promised I would be here." Hour after hour, rain poured down. Passengers went home. Employees changed shifts. Still, she waited. 11 hours later, the train finally arrived. Only a handful of passengers stepped off. One of them was Samuel Harper. George smiled softly. When they saw each other, they didn't run. They didn't shout. They simply held each other's hands, as if the wait had never mattered. Noah quietly asked, "Who was she?" George looked down. "I only knew her as Eleanor." Everyone froze. Eleanor? Could it really be the same Eleanor who still lived just a few miles away? We hurried back to the farmhouse. Grandma Eleanor sat quietly, watering the flowers. Outside Michael's old classroom, Noah gently placed the train ticket into her hands. She stared at it for a very long time. Then, without saying a word, she began to cry. "I haven't seen this in nearly 50 years, she whispered. "You knew Samuel?" Noah asked. She smiled sadly. "I loved him before I ever met your grandfather, Richard." The world around us seemed to stop. No one had ever heard this story, not once. In all these years, Eleanor carefully unfolded the old handkerchief. Hidden inside was a faded white flower, completely dried, perfectly preserved. She smiled through tears. "I gave him this the day he left. I told him if life ever separated us, I would wait, as long as it took." Noah looked confused. "But, Grandpa Richard," she gently nodded. "Richard knew. He was the one who convinced Samuel to come back." The room fell silent. For the first time, we realized Grandpa Richard had not simply changed lives. Sometimes he stepped aside so someone else's happiness could begin. As Eleanor carefully returned the flower to the handkerchief, a tiny folded piece of paper slipped onto the floor. No one had noticed it before. Across the outside, Samuel had written only 5 words. "Richard, thank you for waiting too." At that moment, Noah finally understood. The greatest kindness Grandpa Richard had ever shown was one he had never spoken about. The little note rested quietly in Noah's hands. "Richard, thank you for waiting too." 5 simple words. Yet, they revealed a part of Grandpa Richard we had never known. Eleanor carefully wiped away her tears. She looked toward the old oak tree outside the farmhouse. For several moments, she said nothing. Then, she quietly smiled. "I think it's finally time to tell you everything." It was 1978. Samuel had accepted a job nearly 1,000 miles away. We promised we would marry when he returned, but after 6 months, his letters suddenly stopped. I thought he had forgotten me, so I decided I would wait only one last day, October 17th. If he didn't come, I would let him go. Noah gently asked, "So why was the train delayed?" Eleanor smiled sadly. It wasn't just the storm. The railway bridge had been damaged. Nobody knew when the train would arrive. The station master told me to go home. My parents begged me to stop waiting, but somehow I couldn't leave. Meanwhile, hundreds of miles away, Samuel sat alone inside the delayed train. The storm had stopped everything. Passengers became angry. Some left when the train was stranded, but Samuel stayed, holding one thing, the embroidered handkerchief Eleanor had given him. Then, something happened he never expected. Grandpa Richard walked into the train station. Noah looked surprised. Grandpa was there. Eleanor nodded. He had driven almost 6 hours in terrible weather. Richard sat beside Samuel, For hours, neither man spoke. Finally, Samuel whispered, "What if she's gone?" Richard smiled. "Then you'll know. You tried. But if she's still there, you'll spend the rest of your life thankful you didn't give up." Samuel later told Eleanor. Those words saved his future. When the train finally arrived, Richard stayed behind. He watched as Samuel walked toward Eleanor, then quietly turned around and left, without saying goodbye, without waiting for anyone to thank him. Noah lowered his head. "He never told us." Eleanor smiled. "He promised he never would." Sarah quietly asked, "Why?" Eleanor looked toward Grandpa's portrait. Richard believed, if kindness becomes a story about you, it stops being completely about the person you helped. The room fell silent once again. Lily carefully reached into the wooden box. This was underneath the handkerchief. She placed a small silver coin on the table. One side showed an old railway emblem. The other had been engraved by hand. "Missed trains can still lead you home." Folded beneath the coin was another tiny note, written by Samuel. "Richard, if one day someone finds this, tell them the greatest journeys are sometimes delayed, so the right people can arrive together." Noah carefully closed the wooden box. Only 4 bundles remained. 4 forgotten objects. 4 ordinary people. 4 more stories, waiting quietly to remind the world that the greatest heroes rarely appear in history books. Sometimes they simply wait beside us until hope finds its way home. 4 bundles remained inside the wooden box, each one holding another forgotten story. Noah looked toward Lily. "Would you like to choose the next one?" She smiled nervously, then gently nodded. She reached inside and carefully lifted the second cloth bundle. Unlike the first, this one felt heavier, almost solid. The faded blue ribbon was tied with remarkable care, as though someone had wanted to protect what rested inside. Noah slowly untied the ribbon. Inside lay an old black fountain pen. Its silver clip had become dull with age. Tiny scratches covered the barrel. It was obvious someone had used it. For many years, engraved near the cap were 2 initials, E.M. Sarah looked puzzled. "Who's E.M.?" No one answered. Beneath the pen rested a folded sheet of paper. The edges had yellowed, but the handwriting remained perfectly clear. "Dear Edward, people often believe that words disappear the moment they are spoken, but the right words can stay inside someone's heart for a lifetime. You once wrote a single page that saved a young man's future. You never knew how much it mattered. I never forgot. Thank you, Richard Carter." Noah slowly folded the letter. 1 page saved someone's future. Inside the bundle, there was one more item, a newspaper clipping, dated May 12, 1966. The headline read, "Local high school student receives full university scholarship." The student's photograph showed a shy, 17-year-old boy. His name, Daniel Morris. Sarah searched the newspaper archive. Within minutes, she discovered something unusual. Daniel had almost dropped out of school. His family had lost everything he had already accepted. That education was no longer possible. Then, a handwritten recommendation letter changed everything. It convinced a university to award him a full scholarship. The letter had been written by his English teacher, Edward Miller. Noah quietly whispered, "So Grandpa was thanking a teacher for believing in one student." Sarah smiled gently. "No," she pointed toward the bottom of the article. Years later, Daniel Morris founded one of the largest scholarship organizations in the state. More than 12,000 students had received financial support. 1 recommendation letter, 1 life encouraged, 12,000 futures changed. The next morning, Noah and Lily drove to the small town where Edward Miller had once taught. The old high school still stood proudly, though Edward had retired many years earlier. The principal welcomed them warmly. When Noah showed Richard's letter, the principal smiled. "I know exactly who you're looking for." Edward Miller, now 92 years old, still volunteered at the school library. Every Tuesday, every Thursday, without fail, they found him reading to a group of first-grade children. His voice was gentle, warm, patient, exactly as Grandpa had described. When the children left, Noah handed him Richard's letter. Edward adjusted his glasses, read every word, then quietly laughed. "Richard, you stubborn old friend. I told you, it was only one letter." Noah smiled. "It wasn't. It became 12,000. Edward's eyes filled with tears. "I never knew what happened after Daniel graduated. I only hoped he would have a better life." Noah gently placed the old fountain pen into Edward's hands. "You should keep it." Edward slowly shook his head. "No, I've already written the most important letter of my life." He smiled and carefully returned the pen. "Now, it's someone else's turn to write." As Noah placed the fountain pen back inside the wooden box, he noticed a tiny rolled piece of paper hidden deep inside the pen barrel. It had remained unseen for nearly 40 years. With trembling hands, he carefully unrolled it. Only 6 handwritten words appeared. "One sentence can change everything forever." Noah looked out through the library window. Children laughed as they crossed the playground, and for the first time, he realized Grandpa Richard hadn't collected objects. He had collected moments, when one ordinary choice changed thousands of lives. 3 bundles remained inside the wooden box. The old fountain pen now rested beside Grandpa Richard's letter. One teacher, one recommendation, one decision had changed thousands of lives. Noah slowly closed the lid. He was beginning to understand. Grandpa hadn't preserved objects. He had preserved moments. The next morning, Lily quietly approached the table. "Can I choose again?" Noah smiled. "I think Grandpa would have liked that." She reached inside and lifted the 3rd bundle. It was wrapped in dark red cloth, heavier than the others, almost cold to the touch. Carefully, she untied the ribbon. Inside rested an old brass firefighter's badge. Its surface was scratched, the numbers barely visible. Engine Company 7. On the back, someone had engraved a single name, William Foster. Sarah looked through Grandpa's notebook. She found the next page. Only one sentence, written beneath William's name. He entered the fire after everyone else had left. Noah unfolded the letter tucked beneath the badge. "Dear William, people remembered the building you saved, but I remember the frightened little boy you carried outside long after the flames had become too dangerous. You told everyone you were only doing your job. I knew you were doing something greater. You reminded me that courage is choosing someone else's safety before your own. Thank you, Richard Carter." Silence filled the room. Lily gently held the badge. "It feels so heavy." Noah smiled softly. "Sometimes the greatest acts of courage always do." Sarah searched the local newspaper archives. An article appeared from 1983. Warehouse fire saves entire block. The article praised the firefighters, but one paragraph had almost been forgotten. A young volunteer firefighter, William Foster, entered the collapsing building one final time, not to save equipment, not to save valuables, but because he believed someone was still inside. He was right. Hidden beneath a wooden staircase, a frightened 6-year-old boy had survived. William never accepted the city's medal. Instead, he quietly returned to work. The very next morning, Noah looked at Lily. "Do you know what happened to that little boy?" Sarah smiled. "I think we're about to find out." After several phone calls, they discovered the rescued child was still living, less than an hour away. His name, Daniel Harper. When Noah visited him, Daniel welcomed them warmly. The moment he saw William's old badge, he froze. I haven't seen this in over 40 years. Daniel smiled sadly. I don't remember the fire. I only remember a strong voice telling me, "You're going home today." He opened a family photo album. Inside were pictures of his wife, his children, his grandchildren. He quietly whispered, "I owe all of this to one man. I barely remember." Daniel looked toward Noah. "I've spent my entire life trying to deserve the life William gave me." He smiled. "I became a children's doctor." Sarah quietly calculated. Over 40 years, Daniel had treated more than 50,000 children. One brave decision. Inside a burning building, Hathehut, across tens of thousands of lives. Before Noah left, Daniel disappeared upstairs. He returned carrying a small toy fire truck. Its paint was faded. One wheel was missing. "I was holding this the night of the fire. The firefighters found it beside me." He handed it to Lily. "Keep it so another child will remember what courage looks like." As Lily turned the tiny fire truck over, she noticed a folded piece of paper hidden inside the hollow body. Carefully, she opened it. Only 7 handwritten words, written by William himself. "Real heroes hope nobody knows their names." Noah looked toward Grandpa Richard's silent pocket watch, then toward the old firefighter's badge. Another ordinary object, another extraordinary life. Only 2 bundles remained inside the mysterious wooden box. Noah had a feeling the final lessons would be the ones Grandpa had protected. The longest 2 bundles remained. Inside the wooden box, the firefighter's badge now rested beside the fountain pen and the embroidered handkerchief. Each object had carried a story far greater than itself. That evening, Noah sat alone in Grandpa Richard's study. The old pocket watch still rested quietly inside its glass case. Though it had stopped ticking, its silence still seemed to guide him. Lily entered the room quietly. She looked toward the wooden box. "Can we open one more?" Noah smiled. "I think we're ready." She carefully lifted the 4th bundle. It was surprisingly light, wrapped in soft linen, almost as though someone had protected it with great care. When Noah unfolded the cloth, a simple gold wedding ring rolled gently across the desk. It wasn't polished. It wasn't expensive. One side was cracked, as if it had once been broken. Inside the ring, tiny letters had been engraved. "Ah, yay. Forever begins today." Sarah looked through Grandpa Richard's notebook. The next page contained a single name, Arthur Jensen. Beneath it, only one sentence. He gave away the future he had planned. Noah opened the folded letter. "Dear Arthur, people believed you sacrificed your savings, but I knew you sacrificed your dream. You sold the ring you promised would never leave your hand, so another family could keep theirs together. You taught me that love is measured not by what we keep, but by what we willingly give away. Thank you, Richard Carter." The room became silent. Lily looked at the cracked ring. "He sold his wedding ring?" Noah nodded slowly. "It seems he had no other choice." Sarah searched the town archives. Within minutes, an old newspaper appeared. Vinta, a terrible factory explosion, had left dozens of families without homes. One article mentioned an anonymous donation, large enough to rebuild the first 4 houses. No donor had ever been identified. Another document finally revealed the truth. Arthur Jensen had quietly sold his wedding ring, along with nearly everything he owned. The money had been used to keep 4 young families from becoming homeless. Arthur refused to let anyone know his name. Noah whispered. He gave away the symbol of his own marriage, so others could keep theirs. Sarah smiled gently. There's more. Several years later, those 4 families created a neighborhood charity. For over 30 years, they quietly repaired homes for elderly people who couldn't afford help. One sacrifice, 4 homes, hundreds repaired. thousands of lives, made a little easier. The next afternoon, Noah found Arthur's widow, Mrs. Julia Jensen. She now lived in a small white cottage near the lake. When she saw the cracked wedding ring, she smiled warmly. I wondered if Richard had kept it. Noah looked surprised. You knew, Grandpa? Julia laughed softly. He was Arthur's best friend. She gently held the ring. We couldn't afford to buy another one, so Arthur made me a promise. He said, a marriage doesn't live inside a ring. It lives inside the promises we keep. Julia opened an old wooden drawer. Inside was a faded photograph. Arthur, Julia, and Grandpa Richard standing together, building one of the first homes. After the explosion, all three covered in mud, laughing. On the back, Arthur had written, the strongest homes are always built by helping someone else's first. Before Noah left, Julia placed the cracked ring back into his hand. No, she smiled. It belongs inside the box, so the next generation can remember what love really costs. As Noah carefully returned the ring, he noticed a tiny folded paper hidden inside the ring's worn velvet pouch. He slowly unfolded it. Only 6 handwritten words appeared. Love gives without asking to be remembered. Noah quietly closed the box. Only one bundle remained. The final object, the final story, and perhaps the final lesson. Grandpa Richard had been waiting an entire lifetime to share. Only one bundle remained. The wooden box that had traveled across decades was almost empty. The handkerchief, the fountain pen, the firefighter's badge, and the cracked wedding ring now rested neatly on Grandpa Richard's old desk. 4 ordinary objects, 4 extraordinary lives. Noah gently closed his eyes. For a brief moment, he wondered if the final object would finally explain why Samuel Harper had guarded this box for so many years. Lily quietly pushed the box toward him. I think this one should be yours. Noah smiled softly, then carefully lifted the final cloth bundle. Unlike the others, it was wrapped in dark blue velvet. The fabric had barely aged, as if someone had protected it more carefully than anything else. He slowly untied the ribbon. Inside, there was no medal, no photograph, no letter, only a small brass compass. Its glass was scratched. Its needle still moved perfectly, even after all these years. On the back, someone had engraved 8 simple words. When lost, help someone else find home. The room fell silent. Sarah gently whispered, a compass. Why would Grandpa keep this? Beneath it lay one final envelope. Unlike every letter before, it wasn't written by Richard. It was signed by Samuel Harper. Noah carefully unfolded it. Dear Richard, you once told me that every person eventually loses their way. Some lose their direction. Some lose their family. Some lose hope. You taught me that the best way to find ourselves again is to help someone else find their way first. So I am leaving you. The only thing that ever helped me keep moving forward. My compass. Not because it always points north, but because every time I looked at it, I remembered who walked beside me when I had no direction. Thank you for bringing me home. Your friend, Samuel. Noah slowly lowered the letter. No one spoke. The little brass compass seemed almost alive, resting quietly in the center of the table. Lily looked toward Noah. My grandfather never called Richard a hero. He always called him a guide. Sarah smiled. That sounds exactly like Richard. Inside the velvet pouch, Noah noticed one final folded map. Old, hand-drawn, yellow with age. Across the top, Grandpa Richard had written, there is always one more person waiting. The map didn't lead to treasure. It didn't mark a hidden vault. Instead, small circles appeared across dozens of towns. Beside every circle, one handwritten word. Teacher, doctor, volunteer, neighbor, farmer, mother, friend, ordinary people. Noah finally understood. Grandpa Richard and Samuel Harper had spent years quietly recording the names of people who changed lives without ever asking for recognition. The wooden box was never meant to preserve memories. It was meant to inspire the next generation to keep adding name. As Noah carefully folded the map, something slipped from between its pages. A blank card. Across the top, only one sentence appeared. The next name starts with you. Noah looked around the room. At Lily, at Sarah, at Ethan, at the silent pocket watch, at the 5 ordinary objects that had quietly changed thousands of lives. He smiled, then picked up Grandpa Richard's old fountain pen. Without hesitation, he wrote the first new name on the blank card. Not his own, but the name of a young volunteer who had spent every Saturday delivering food to elderly neighbors without telling anyone. The legacy had not ended. It had quietly begun again, and only one final chapter remained to reveal why Grandpa Richard believed that kindness should never have a last page. The farmhouse was quiet. Morning sunlight shined through Grandpa Richard's study. The wooden box now stood completely empty. The handkerchief, the fountain pen, the firefighter's badge, the wedding ring, the compass, 5 ordinary objects, 5 extraordinary lives, and one lesson shared by every story. Kindness never asks to be remembered. Noah picked up the blank card again. Only one name had been written. Not a famous person, not a wealthy person, just a young volunteer who quietly delivered groceries to elderly neighbors every weekend. Lily smiled. So that's how it begins? Noah nodded. No, it began long before us. We're simply the next chapter. That afternoon, the Carter Family Foundation held its annual gathering. Volunteers, teachers, firefighters, doctors, artists, neighbors, children, more than 300 people filled the old barn beside Michael Ross's art school. None of them knew about the mysterious wooden box. Noah stepped onto the small stage. He carried only the old brass compass, not the pocket watch, not the letters, not the wooden box. He smiled at the crowd. My grandfather spent his life looking for people who changed the world quietly. He never looked for heroes. He looked for neighbors. He held up the compass. This doesn't point toward treasure. It points toward people. The room became silent. Then Noah did something no one expected. He placed a large wooden journal on the table. Across the front, golden letters had been engraved. The Book of Quiet Kindness. He opened the first page. There was the name of the young volunteer. Underneath, a short story, just one page. Simple, honest, true. Then Noah looked at everyone in the room. If you know someone who quietly changes lives, write their story. Not because they expect recognition, but because the next generation needs examples. People stood. A little girl wrote about her grandmother who read books to sick children every Friday. A firefighter wrote about his retired captain. A nurse wrote about the janitor who comforted lonely patients. A teacher wrote about a cafeteria worker who secretly paid for hungry students' lunches. By sunset, the first volume contained more than 100 stories. None about celebrities, none about famous people, only ordinary lives filled with extraordinary kindness. Lily quietly walked toward Grandpa Richard's portrait. She smiled. I think my grandfather finally brought the box home. That evening, Noah returned to Grandpa's study. He placed the empty wooden box beside the silent pocket watch. For a long time, he simply looked at them. One had measured time. The other had preserved kindness. Their work was finished. Noah gently closed the lid one final time, then attached a small brass plaque. It read, "This box is empty. Please keep it that way. Fill the world instead." Years later, children visiting the Carter Family Foundation would always ask, "Why is the box empty?" Noah would smile, then point toward the library, the bakery, the art school, the counseling center, the homes built by volunteers, the gardens planted by neighbors, and the growing shelves of the Book of Quiet Kindness. The box, he would say, isn't empty. It became all of this final message. Some inherit money, some inherit land. Richard Carter left behind something that could never be spent: the courage to notice goodness before the world forgets it. Because kindness doesn't become a legacy when one person performs it. It becomes a legacy when another person chooses to continue it.